Namaskar, hello and welcome viewers. You're watching this special presentation of Sansad TV, Bills and Acts, where we analyze bills that impact you, acts that empower you, and programs that matter to you. I'm your host KRITI Mishra, and today the spotlight is on the Anusandhan National Research Foundation Act of 2023. Before the analysis, let's take a look at the highlights. It repeals the Science and Engineering Research Board Act of 2008 and dissolves the Science and Engineering Research Board set up under it. The Act provides for establishing the Anusandhan National Research Foundation. NRF will have a governing board headed by Prime Minister of India. The board will provide strategic direction to the foundation and monitor the implementation. For viewers, the Act will provide high-level strategic direction for research, innovation and entrepreneurship in the fields of natural sciences, including mathematical sciences, engineering, technology, environment and earth sciences, and also health and agriculture. The principal scientific advisor will be the chairperson of the council. And joining us today in the studio is a very special guest, Professor Ajay Kumar Sood, principal scientific advisor. Welcome to Sansad TV, sir, and thank you so much for joining us.
Namaskar.
Namaskar, sir. Pleasure having you on the show. And before we get into the nitty-gritties of the Act, let's set the tone and tenor of this discussion. And please take us through the highlights of this Act.
So before I do that, please allow me to remind ourselves that since historical times, India has been always promoting the significance of research, Anusandhan as you call it, and creating scientific and social knowledge for the general good of the people. Now, ANRF, Anusandhan National Research Foundation, is conceptualized with this exact idea that we need to have the role of research in the well-being and development of human mankind. So, with these objectives, this bill has been passed. Now, here what are our asks? What do we want in this bill? So, first we need to strengthen the research culture in the country. Now, there are various ways, various tools to do that. We have to support whatever is happening right now. We have to take it to the next level in our research, innovation and entrepreneurship. As you rightly pointed out, it has all the three verticals have to be promoted in all branches of natural science and also humanities which have the interface with the science and technology. Right. Now, what are the key things which is required from the bill? First and foremost is that this ANRF should prepare a short-term, mid-term and the long-term roadmap for research and development in the country. Now, this requirement will streamline the efforts to boost the R&D ecosystem.
That's right.
Now, we need to provide, we need to seed and fund research.
Absolutely.
We need to grow the research culture and we need to grow the infrastructure, the research infrastructure in all the universities and colleges. So, it will be done in stages. But what we need to see, in addition to the universities which have been funded in the last many years, we also need to see what are the universities and colleges in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities which have to come in the mainstream.
Right.
Now, this will be very much required if we need to grow our entire human base in research. And that's when it will go to the more people than what is happening now. Now, of course, the foundation will provide support to the research proposals on a competitive basis, but we will also see that it also brings the synergy of the top level institutes and the other institutes in a holistic manner.
Absolutely, sir.
So this is something we need to promote in a proactive manner. So it will not be only reactive, but this will be a key difference, that it will be proactive. Also, we need to bring industry in our fold.
Absolutely, sir.
So we need to create a system where we can work with the industry partners. The government funding can be co-funding with the industry, or it can be fully from them. Various methodologies have to be evolved.
Absolutely, sir. So it's all about developing the ecosystem in our country.
That's correct.
But, sir, one of the areas of concern probably, look at countries like Germany, South Korea and US. They spend around 3% of their GDP on R&D, whereas our expenditure is around 0.6 to 0.7%. So how will this legislation bridge this gap?
So this is a very important point which you have been, which you made. So it is correct that right now our expenditure on R&D, GERD it's called, is about 0.7% of GDP. But of course this is less than other countries. But what I would like to point out is that the government funding, the government contribution in this 0.7 or 0.65 which you said is about 0.3%
right.
of GDP. Now 0.3% of GDP by government, our government, is actually not bad. It
That's
is
true.
comparable to other governments. I'll give you some numbers so that it puts the right perspective. USA spends 0.4% of GDP from the government side. But what is their total funding? 3.5%. Out of 3.5, government funding is still 0.4. The remaining is coming from other sectors. Look at China, 0.4% coming from government, similar to ours, and the total funding is 2.4% of GDP. Japan, total funding is 3.3%, but the government funding is still 0.3. And one of the country, South Korea, it spends 4.8% of GDP on R&D. But their government funding, can you guess, it's only 0.5%. So what I'm trying to say is that the government funding has been happening over the years.
Right.
We need to see how other players can come in. But also please remember, this is a percentage of GDP, but the total absolute funding in R&D has increased. Because our GDP is increasing, the denominator is also increasing, so that the ratio looks the same. So I just give you some numbers so that it puts the context. In 2010, 2011, we were spending about 60,000 crores rupees on R&D. Now it is about 130,000 crores in 2021. It has also increased in the last 2 years. So the absolute numbers have increased. But the ratio, as you rightly said, has remained around 0.7, 0.65, 0.7 because our GDP has increased. The core point I am trying to make is that the overall funding, the ratio has remained same. Government funding is remaining around 0.3 to 0.35% of GDP. So what we need now is an ecosystem where other players can come in and also support R&D.
Absolutely, sir. That's, I think, a very important that you made and a very important perspective that you gave us about these numbers. But before we move ahead, let's take some questions from our audience here.
My name is Satyam and currently I am a BSc Zoology second year student at Hansraj College. My question to you, sir, is when I was going through this bill, I could not help but notice government has planned to include the universities and colleges, improve their infrastructure. But I think we need to focus towards the elementary level as well. I mean, most of the students that they are completing after doing their 12th, they are inclined towards medicine and engineering. They see BSc as their backup. because they are simply not aware of the fact of the opportunities they can have in this sector. Even a 12th passed student, they are not aware of what is net GRF. They don't even what is research, what are the opportunities. So how is the government planning to tackle on these issues at the 12th level and 11th?
Professor Sood, I think it's all about creating awareness.
Yeah, see, the point here is this is a issue which society needs to see. More than the student, it is the parents also.
Right.
Because parents always look at what is the paycheck, which is not bad. But the interest in science has to be developed. It cannot be done overnight. And many things which are happening around us. Look at Chandrayaan 3 success. Look at Aditya L1. The excitement in public is really palpable.
That's true.
Now, this will of course excite young people like you who will look at science as an option. So, science as an option, I can tell you, since I have lived science for the last 50 years, it's absolutely wonderful. You really live to see what the nature has in store for you, but at the same time, you can make good living, I can assure you. You can make good living at the same time contribute to nation building and contributing to training the next generation. I had large number of students who have been trained and who are in academics. It's absolutely a fantastic feeling to see that you are creating the next workforce, and the challenges can be done only with that kind of a preparation.
Absolutely. So COVID is a fantastic example.
So COVID, you look at that. I mean, COVID, the way we came up, it didn't happen in 1 or 2 days. Because we had the scientific workforce which was ready, they really re-engineered themselves to respond to the challenge of COVID.
Absolutely.
Now, your point that young generation has to be made interesting cannot be done with a pill. I cannot give you a pill, or government cannot give you a pill. Each one of you will eat tomorrow and will become a scientist. No, it is a process. What is the process? Inquisitive mind.
Right.
You have to have an inquisitive mind, and then you say, oh, do I understand that? If I understand that, what can I predict? So that is how science goes.
True.
Science is a method of, you hypothesize something, you see what could be the way to deal with it, do experiments, come back, compare and move forward.
True.
And please remember, in science, people usually make a difference between basic science and applied science, or scientific science and technological science, whatever names you call. But please remember, today's scientific science will be for future technology. Do you know that if you are coming in a motor, you have used a heat engine? You know Carnot's heat engine, 1826.
Sir.
That could not have come but for thermodynamics.
That's true.
So heat engine is an application of basic thermodynamic laws. Many examples. Cryptocurrency, crypto cyber security. I mean, you are making all these payments, on
Mobile
digital
and, yes.
this thing. It would not have been safe but for the cyber security, but for the crypting the message.
Right.
How is it done? By mathematics. You use formulas, you use elliptical functions, you know that which your enemy cannot decipher in a given time. That's why quantum has come now.
That's true. Precisely, sir.
The quantum will not, who would have thought in 1930 that the principles of quantum mechanics, by the way, it's not very long. Since first quantum mechanics wave came in 1913. So it's almost 100 years. Who would have thought the very fascinating idea of superposition and entanglement of states will be the key feature of quantum computing? Who would have
Absolutely. So we reap the benefits of research for eternity. Absolutely, sir.
And very exciting.
As you told that 72% funds are from the private sector in NRF. Sir, how NRF will ensure the transparency of allocation and utilization of these funds?
See, the point is the transparency is a key issue. Now, once you have digitalization, once you have the whole funding in the digital mode, transparency will come. So everything, I mean, you will not have to go to office and say, where is my proposal? No, everything will be on the portal and you will be able to do it. So this transparency will come through the digital way of dealing with it.
Myself, Dipali Prasad from Hansraj College, pursuing BSc Life Science. Sir, how this NRF Act will help young and aspiring researchers to coordinate efficiently with the private and the industrial sector?
Very good. See, as you know, our NRF has envisaged that a part of the funding will come from government sources. We have put right now 14,000 crores out of 50,000. The remaining, we need to create environment such that the private funding comes in our fold. It will not happen overnight. It will not happen that you just say it and it happens. We have to create conditions. So we have to show that by working together with the government funding, it can reach much more. There is a industrial funding already in the country,
Yes,
but mostly it will be for in-house research. We want it also to have, funding not only in-house but also outside their industries. And this is what will be enabled by creating the right atmosphere and working along with them to promote this.
I am Vidhi and I have just completed my master's in biomedical science from Delhi University. So, sir, my question is that the act has already been passed. So, what are the things like how the NRF is going to make sure that it has been implemented very well and it has made an impact, and how to measure its effectiveness?
Yeah, see, the act means that now we will have to make the structure. So the structure has two major things. One is the governing body, other is the executive council. Now all these processes will be delineated in that, and what we have to see that this implementation is done at the very earliest, and it is done in a very transparent manner. And this is what we think will happen in maybe the next few weeks or so. But goal is to roll it out as early as possible and make sure that our researchers have access to this in a manner which is transparent and which is really, the value based. It should be also asking what are the outcomes of a research, because you cannot simply taking inputs.
Right.
The outcome, not the output, please remember. The outcomes are very important. Now, this is the way we have to create this system.
I'm Pravesh Punya from Hansraj College. So we are saying though the R&D is developing in India, but still we are saying that male and female ratio is still low. So how NRF can deal with this type of thing?
Very
Gender parity,
important.
sir.
See, this gender balance is important even when NRF was not there. So it's not that NRF woke up to this. What you are asking is an absolutely important question. You will be surprised to know, till master's degree, the women participation in STEM, science, technology, engineering and maths, is 44%. Not bad. Very close to 50%. But what is most worrying is that down the line, it becomes 16%, 1/6. So there is a huge leakage. Women scientists who have done masters, which is the highest degree, only now become 16% when it comes to the workforce. That's what is the most worrying thing. And this has to be addressed. NRF will be sensitive to that. NRF will have women-centric programs like in other funding agencies, but maybe with much more focus and deliverables. But this is an important question which has to be addressed.
Hello sir, myself Divyang Gupta, currently pursuing BSc Honours Geology from Hansraj College. Sir, even in India today, if a student completed master's degree in STEM, then he wants to go to the foreign nation for completing research or PhD. Then how will this NRF will ensure these researchers to retain in their motherland and pursue research? How will this stop the brain drain?
Yeah. See, people go abroad, which is not a bad thing. I am not being judgmental on that. Because they find some opportunities which are not there in the country. Now, NRF will create conditions which will give confidence that we can do front rate research, which is already happening in the country. So, whatever, please remember, we have a large number of our research scholars in the country. So, it's not that everyone is rushing to go abroad. It's not that. We have excellent researchers here with whom PhD students are associated. In my own case, in Indian Institute of Science, I have trained, you will be surprised to know, it will only reflect how much long I have been. Almost 50 people have got PhDs with me.
Fantastic.
Now, most of them have gone abroad for postdoctoral work, but they have come back and they are now faculty. So, it's the next generation they are training.
Right.
That's how you need to enable.
Absolutely. I'm absolutely short of time. We'll take these two questions together. Please go ahead.
First of all, breakthrough researches usually take time. Like the research that you did on condensed and super condensed matter, I read about it. It took at least 2 of your years of research work. Secondly, sir, if the research is so long, how is the government going to imply on what all funds will be allocated and how the year-wise allocation would be done?
So allow us to take two questions together. Yes, next one.
Sir, my name is MD Akhil and I'm currently pursuing BSc Zoology from Hansraj College. My question is that the fund is of 50,000. The private sector is funding a major amount in this. So can they influence the research and development in their interest or their monopoly?
Both are important questions. The first question related to the time it takes. See, research, it cannot be done in a jiffy and you have the result.
Right.
Jiffy means the outcome will also be in a jiffy and it will vanish in a jiffy. The time it takes to reach is also the time it takes to decay. That's a general theorem. But research, if you are asking deep questions, it takes time. And government has been supporting research. Like my PhD students take 5 years to get their PhD. Those 5 years, government is supporting them. Government is also supporting the requirement of faculty in the universities. What we need to do is enhance their numbers. We need to reach the unreached. We need to go to universities which have not been funded. We need to go to colleges. Numbers have to be increased.
Right.
It's not that NRF is starting the R&D switch. No, it's happening. Government has been supporting by various agencies. But it will happen with a renewed vigor and on a scale. Now, the second thing was about industrial funding.
The
Right?
direction of research.
The direction of research has many aspects. Now, many industries would like to partner with the academic people on problems which concern them, which is rightly so. But in each problem, there can be a very deep problem. It may start on a technical note that something is not working in my process, what can you do? But behind that question, history tells us very, very deep fundamental breakthroughs have been made. Trust me. Because it starts on a small note, but when you go down, you realize you don't have the answer.
Right.
So you have to discover. Like Newton had to discover the calculus to do his physics. So in every question, I can tell you whether it is basic or applied, there is always a seed of intellectual curiosity and intellectual strength. So
Right.
please don't say that these are two compartmentalized things. It works together.
Absolutely, works in cohesion. But sir, absolutely interesting answers there. And thank you so much for providing us with that new perspective on research and development and scientific temper in our country. And we do hope that this particular act will pave the way for India to join the select league of developed nations. On that note, thank you so much for joining us, Professor Sood.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, viewers, that's all we had for you in this edition. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to Sansad TV. Goodbye for now from my side.